Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dissect one of the most chilling, isolating, and honestly just utterly terrifying urban legends to ever come out of the digital age. We're taking a trip back to 2004, right into the early, kind of chaotic days of the Japanese internet. And we're uncovering a story that doesn't rely on cheap jump scares or, bloody monsters hiding in the closet. Instead, it plays on a much deeper, much more universal fear. The sheer terror of your boring, everyday routines suddenly going completely wrong. Consider this an autopsy of Kisaragi Station, a place that literally exists on no map, and yet it's managed to terrify millions. Let's get into it.
So, our nightmare doesn't start with a scream. It actually starts with a really polite, hesitant question. Picture this. It's the night of January 8, 2004 at 11:14 p.m. A young woman using the screen name Hasumi posts this exact message on 2channel, which is Japan's massive anonymous internet bulletin board. She's just on her normal commute home in Shizuoka Prefecture. I want you to imagine your own late-night commute for a second. You're exhausted, the carriage is dead quiet, and you're just zoning out, waiting for your usual stop. But then, you look out the window and you realize the train isn't stopping. And that brings us to the core existential question of this whole story. What actually happens when the hyper-organized, super-reliable infrastructure of modern life just drops you? Because over in Japan, the rail system is practically sacred when it comes to punctuality, right? It's the absolute artery of society. If you board the correct train, you are going to arrive at the correct destination. It's basically a promise. So what happens when that procedural breaks down? What happens when reality's routing protocol hits a fatal error and you are the one left slipping right through the cracks?
Let's start breaking this down. Section 1. The train to nowhere.
Now, like I said, this wasn't some quick flash-in-the-pan jump scare. It was a very slow-burn descent into madness. Hasumi boards her local Enshu railway train around 11:14 p.m., totally expecting a standard, brief 10 to 20-minute ride. But the minutes just keep ticking by. By 12:40 a.m., which is well over an hour later, she arrived at a station she has literally never seen before in her life. And eventually, at 3:44 a.m., she sends her final, completely unresolved cry for help out into the digital void. For over 4 hours, anonymous internet users were glued to their screens, basically watching a woman slowly fall off the face of the earth in real time.
Her live updates on the message board are wild because they perfectly capture that subtle, creepy shift from mundane routine to visceral panic. She notes that she's on the exact same train as always, but it hasn't stopped for 20 minutes. And for context, this train usually stops every 5 to 8 minutes. Plus, those 5 other people in her car, they are all fast asleep, completely unresponsive, just inert. Hasumi even tries to go find the conductor, but the blinds are drawn tight over the windows. She knocks. Absolute silence. The train is just barreling forward through the night, completely ignoring the basic rules of geography and transit.
Okay, moving on to Section 2. A station uncharted.
Finally, the train starts to slow down. It passes through this unfamiliar tunnel, and the doors slide open into the cold, pitch-black night. Hasumi steps off onto this unstaffed, incredibly desolate platform. There's no timetable anywhere, there are no taxis waiting outside, there aren't even any public phones. And when she goes to look at the station sign, she posts this absolutely chilling update back to the board. The name is written with the kanji character for demon, but it's pronounced Kisaragi. Just like that, a simple, outdated station sign becomes a terrifying omen. She has essentially arrived at a place that simply does not exist on any map in Japan.
Honestly, you can practically feel the collective shiver from the anonymous 2channel users who are experiencing this live right alongside her. One user just replies, "Devil Station?" They are frantically searching Yahoo Maps, Google Maps, anything they can find. They are pulling up Enshu railway schedules, and nothing. There is zero record of a Kisaragi station anywhere. The users start urging her to stay safe, maybe walk back along the tracks or call the police. But as we're about to see, every single attempt at logic completely fails in this place. Hasumi is trapped in what feels like a frozen sensory void. She posts that she starts hearing these distant rhythmic sounds of bells and taiko drums, which implies there's some sort of unseen otherworldly festival happening nearby. When she frantically dials 110 for the police, they just assume it's a prank call because her phone's GPS completely fails to register her location. As she decides to walk the dark tracks to try and escape, she runs into this incredibly eerie, one-legged old man who just yells at her from the darkness and then vanishes. She's stumbling around, she breaks her heels, she's bleeding, and she's completely surrounded by an environment that feels hostile and totally alien.
Which brings us to Section 3, the final message.
After hours of walking in the dark, Injured and completely exhausted, Hasumi pushes her way through the Isanuki tunnel, desperately looking for a way out. She emerges from the tunnel around 3:10 a.m. and finally sees a figure. It's a seemingly helpful local guy who offers to drive her to a nearby business hotel. Relieved, she gets into his car. But as they start driving deep into the mountainous terrain toward a place he calls Hina, the man's entire demeanor shifts. He stops answering her questions. He just starts muttering incoherently to himself. And at 3:44 a.m., Hasumi posts her very last message. Her battery is dying, the man is acting super strange, and she says she's going to try to make a run for it. Then, nothing. Just pure, permanent silence. That digital thread dies right there, and Hasumi is literally never heard from again.
Talk about a totally unresolved ending, right? That's exactly why it leaves such a pit in your stomach even today. But let's break the tension for a second and put on our detective hats. We need to dissect the legend and ask the analytical question. Did any of this actually happen? Was Kisaragi Station even geographically possible? Let's take a look at the hard facts. Section 4. Hunting for Kisaragi.
Almost immediately after Hasumi vanished off the internet, amateur sleuths and folklore enthusiasts started hunting for the real-world location of Kisaragi Station along that Enshu railway line in Shizuoka. But here is the massive, undeniable contradiction in the story. Hasumi claimed her train ran continuously for over 40 minutes without making a single stop. Now, if you actually look at the real Enshu railway line, the entire 17.8-kilometer track from Shin Hamamatsu all the way to its very end at Nishikajima only takes about 32 to 33 minutes to travel in total. So the geographical math literally just does not work. This means her train either somehow bent the laws of space and time, or it traveled completely off the known map.
Now, a lot of investigators point to Saganomiya Station as the likely real-world model for her story. It's located right on that same rail line, it's surrounded by open fields, and it definitely has a somewhat isolated rural vibe to it. Railway workers even confirmed that back in 2004, it was way darker out there and lacked all the brightly lit convenience stores it has around it today. But here's the thing. Saganomiya was a staffed station. It had regular traffic. It fundamentally lacked that absolute, terrifying, unstaffed void that Hasumi described. It was just a quiet, normal station. It certainly wasn't a gateway to a nightmare.
But as we know, facts rarely ever stop a really good legend from growing, do they? Over the next decade, the myth of Kisaragi Station absolutely exploded online. In 2014, some anonymous prankster actually dropped a fake Kisaragi Station pin right in the middle of a pond at Tsukuba University on Google Maps, which thoroughly confused the internet for a minute. People started sharing spooky photos of derelict rural stops like Mercedes Station, trying to pass them off as the real Kisaragi. And before long, total copycat stories started popping up, like the tale of Yami or Darkness Station, which further blurred that line between digital reality and fiction. The internet didn't just preserve this legend, it actively participated in building it out.
Let's look a bit deeper at why this works so well. Section 5. The Anatomy of J-Horror. So why does Kisaragi Station terrify us so much more than your standard run-of-the-mill ghost story? Well, first off, it taps directly into some incredibly ancient cultural fears. There is a Japanese concept called kamikakushi, which literally translates to hiding by the gods, or being spirited away. For centuries, if someone just wandered off into the woods and vanished without a single trace, it was blamed on kamikakushi. Hazumi's story brilliantly takes this ancient folklore and updates it perfectly for the digital age. Those dense, dark woods of the past are replaced by the hyperlit, enclosed space of a modern commuter train, but the end result is exactly the same: sudden, inexplicable erasure from the world.
And this brings us to a concept that I think completely dissects why this legend is so potent: infrastructural horror. Notice how there is no big monster chasing Hasumi through the station? That one-legged man, he just yells at her. He doesn't attack her. The train never derails or crashes. Everything simply continues to function, but incorrectly. The evil here isn't some demon with claws. The evil is a clerical error in consensus reality. It's pure terror born entirely from bureaucratic malfunction. She hasn't been targeted by some ancient curse. She has simply been misrouted by the universe.
And honestly, this reveals exactly why this myth still resonates so heavily with you and me today. The true horror of Kisaragi isn't about being hunted by a ghost in the dark. It's that profound, uniquely modern anxiety that our highly regimented society, our flawless trains, our precise GPS maps, our ubiquitous cell phone networks, could just glitch out one day and quietly erase us. It's that underlying fear of falling completely out of the world, discovering that the system doesn't even notice your absence, and realizing there is absolutely no customer support desk for reality.
Section 6. a myth set in motion. Let's see where the story went from there.
So how did this deeply psychological internet terror transform into a massive modern cultural juggernaut? Well, the impact of this legend has been absolutely huge. Fast forward to 2022, and it gets adapted into a major live-action horror film that visualized Hasumi's harrowing night, leaning pretty heavily into those otherworld survival tropes. It was such a big hit that a sequel titled Kisaragi Station was slated for 2025. But I think the absolute most fascinating development in all of this is how reality itself eventually embraced the fiction. The actual real-world Enshu Railway leaned right into the legend. They temporarily renamed a station and sold these limited edition replica tickets to Kisaragi Station. And get this, all 500 sets sold out in a single hour. A deeply creepy story about a terrifying disappearance somehow evolved into a celebrated mainstream piece of local culture.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on. Kisaragi Station thrives as a legend because it lives right in those quiet, liminal spaces we pass through every single day without a second thought. It lives in that tiny gap between your expected, boring routine and the absolutely terrifying unknown. So the next time you're on your late-night commute and you feel your eyes getting heavy, just ask yourself, if you wake up and the train refuses to stop and all the station signs out the window have turned to gibberish, will anyone be able to come looking for you? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Stay curious, everyone, and maybe try to stay awake on the train.